Has it ever seemed to you that some people seem to be living out their lives like characters in an endless soap opera? Assault in the form of a carjacking occurs while they are driving, betraying a buddy when they wait too long to respond. Unfortunately, the barista botches their order. On the other hand, there are those extraordinary otherworldly creatures who appear utterly unconcerned by everything. They seem unfazed by the foolishness that ensnares the majority of us, floating through life on air. A few slurs, people just shrug. A sudden obstacle, they modify. To all intents and purposes, they seem to operate on a separate frequency than the majority of humanity. If you're serious about your personal health, whether you want to stop suffering, get clear guidance on how to stop overthinking, or to be more present in life, now's the perfect time to subscribe to our channel. Like this video if you're ready to grow further as a person. Now, let's continue. Eckhart Tolle, in The Power of Now, reminds us, the primary cause of unhappiness is never the situation, but your thoughts about it. This resonates because the important question is, what do these calm, collected individuals know that the general public doesn't? Because face it, the majority of people are like human pinballs. They're always reacting to something, completely swayed by the wind. Poor weather makes them very unhappy. Their sense of self-worth takes a nosedive if they don't respond to texts. Like a detective investigating a crime scene, they will spend the next 3 hours analyzing every peculiar look given by a stranger. The truth is that we've all played that role before, perhaps not on a full-time basis, but enough to understand the feeling of having something utterly unrelated occupy an excessive amount of mental space. Therefore, how can we tell the reactive from the untouchable? It isn't fate. This isn't a natural talent. It isn't because they've attained ecstasy like a Himalayan Zen monk. The answer is straightforward. They've realized the game was rigged from the beginning and have stopped playing. You see, the vast majority of individuals live their lives completely ignorant of the origins of their emotions. They attribute their emotional instability to external forces, but it's really their own biases and assumptions about the world that are to blame. I propose we simplify it as much as feasible. There are 2 ways to respond when someone yells at you in traffic. The first is taking it personally, letting it ruin your day, and going on an angry tirade about it for hours. Back to plan B. Just shrug, pretend their issues are bigger, and keep the conversation going. Identical occurrence, diverse interpretations. And what's the sole distinction? Your interpretation of it. Now this is where things start to get crazy. This is true for almost everything. If you let that one hurtful remark from a total stranger hang on you, it will have an impact. If you let that rejection to shape who you are, it will only hurt. If you let that terrible day play over and over and over again, like a terrible Netflix series, it will wreck your week. The reality is that the majority of people's complaints are unfounded. This is occurring in their thoughts. They fail to prioritize what needs their attention and instead remain mired in a never-ending cycle of reacting. It all changes when you see it, when you understand it, not just in theory, but in real life. For all of a sudden, life is no longer something that happens to you. It is something that you can shape according to your preferences. The important thing to know is how to turn this switch on and off. Why? Because after you do, nothing will ever be the same. All right, let's dive in. Okay, so here's the deal. The most important thing is not the events themselves, but your interpretation of them. However, being aware of this in principle and putting it into practice are totally different things. Because honestly, it's easy to lose perspective and revert to responding when life hits you hard with something personal, as when someone disrespects you or when a situation appears unfair. So, the question becomes, how can one genuinely condition their brain to ignore such commonplace nuisances? How can one reach a state when they are no longer affected by anything or anyone? Stop giving your energy out for free. It's a simple but profound move. The majority of individuals treat the surrender of their serenity as if it were a promotional gift. What the hey? Let's spend 2 hours debating some random internet user who left a bad comment. They begin to overanalyze and reconsider every conversation the moment someone gives them a strange glance in public. Just a little annoyance. Oh no, now the entire day is a bust. It's the same as owning a business and offering everything for free. Starting to charge is an inevitable step. Questions such, does this person's opinion pay my bills? Need to be asked more often. In a week's time, will I even recall this incident? Is the blame truly on me, or am I absorbing the negativity of others? Reason being, most of the time, people's worries are only the opinions of others. Feeling disrespected by someone. They have that issue. Who has doubts about you? That is the extent of their thinking. Is someone being rude to you? It reveals more about their character than yours. Consider this. When you respond emotionally, when you become angry, or when you allow something to dictate your feelings, you are essentially sending the message, here, take my peace. I don't need it. However, the reality is that your mental tranquility is your most precious asset, and the ones who succeed in life, who remain unfazed by setbacks, have learned that it's not worth it to put effort into most things. Things are about to get interesting now. Curious things begin to transpire after you cease responding, when you cease interacting with negativity, and when you become unshakable. Those who used to be able to set you off abruptly become helpless. Even the things that used to utterly depress you now hardly register. When you let go of things that were never truly yours, the weight of the world lifts off. And once you experience that level of psychological liberation, you will never want to return. However, this puzzle still lacks one component. Why? Because there's a way to go above and beyond. To manipulate the environment. To manipulate the environment so that it works for you, rather than against you. And that's when the good times begin. This idea of freeing yourself from external influences has profound echoes in the teachings of Eckhart Tolle, especially in his book The Power of Now. Tolle emphasizes that the ego, which thrives on external validation and internal reactivity, is the source of much of our suffering. When you are able to see the unconscious mind at work in your life, you are no longer ruled by it, he says. Recognizing that we don't have to react to every external event is the first step in mastering our emotional responses. Once you realize that nothing outside of you has the power to dictate your peace, you step into a new state of being. This isn't about shutting yourself off from the world, but rather understanding that your inner peace is not dependent on external circumstances. Tolle also reminds us that the past has no power over the present moment, meaning that when we stop living in reaction to past events or future worries, we can truly experience the freedom and joy that come with living in the now. This is the core of true mental freedom, detaching from the distractions, the drama, and the turmoil that others so often stir up. By doing so, we no longer allow those things to define us. We are free to live according to our own values, our own sense of peace, and our own truth. And, as Tolle suggests, when we stop identifying so strongly with the ego and the external world, we become better equipped to shape our own reality, making the environment around us work in our favor rather than against us. Let's dissect it. The truth is that the majority of individuals do not desire mastery over their emotions. Every time life throws them a curveball, they fall for the bait, even if they claim they do and desire inner peace. Boss has sent an obnoxious email. A mental resignation letter needs to be drafted now. Does your phone turn off at 1? It would seem like the whole cosmos is out to get them. Somehow it seems like individuals take pleasure in letting their emotions rule them. It's just my nature. I can't help it. They'll explain. The real kicker, though, is that you win at everything, in your personal life included, the second you stop responding. In any setting, whether it's a high-stakes negotiation, a social engagement, or even an argument, the most powerful people always manage to remain calm. Let me explain. When you let your emotions get the best of you, you give up control. Someone has ownership over you if they are aware they can provoke you. A circumstance has control over you if it can irritate you. The world controls your reality if your emotions are continually reacting to it. Consider the inverse now. Envision yourself as someone who resists the urge to give in anymore. A remark that is passive, aggressive. You remain completely unfazed. You remain completely unfazed. Were you the object of an experiment? Nobody responds to them. Dealing with life's unforeseen challenges. One adjusts and continues. This has nothing to do with disregarding issues. It's about taking control of your life and not letting difficulties control you. In this, you begin to notice a change in how people treat you. They treat you with more deference. They don't put you through as many tests. And most importantly, you begin to make judgments based on reason and purpose rather than on emotional impulses. Because here's something that a lot of people don't know. Being emotionally reactive is like being on autopilot, and everyone loves manipulative people. Marketers take advantage of your emotions. Some folks are just toxic and can't help but irritate you. Unstable individuals are the backbone of control systems. When you respond, people may anticipate your moves, and those who are predictable are simple to manipulate. However, true freedom is yours for the taking the moment you stop letting things affect you so much, the moment you stop reacting and start observing. This is something that 99% of people will never experience. You begin to live life on your own terms when you reach a place where no one or object can control your inner state. This sounds great, but how do I actually implement this? You may be asking. Well, getting to know it isn't enough. Rewiring your entire reaction system is what's needed to make this shift permanent. Then let's dive into it. Now that we know that emotional reactions make you lose control, the next big question is, how can you teach yourself to avoid reacting? Since, come on, if being detached were a piece of cake, everyone would be doing it. The truth is that the majority of individuals are completely unaware of how conditioned their reactions are. We have a hardwired tendency to react rapidly to novel situations from the time we are very young. When someone makes fun of you, you should stand up for yourself. When you're upset about anything, you have to tell someone. Imagine going about your day with an open control panel. Anybody, from your boss to a random stranger to a social media post, could walk up and touch your buttons whenever they wanted. Imagine instead if you could remove the control panel altogether. When it comes to this, emotional immunity is key. As Eckhart Tolle suggests in The Power of Now, the primary cause of unhappiness is never the situation, but your thoughts about it. I am not suggesting that you should become emotionally detached or emotionless. I'm referring to the process of teaching your brain to stop acting in a habitual way. First, just watch. Don't take in. For the most part, individuals just soak up whatever is thrown at them. They absorb the energy of those around them and experience stress themselves. Someone being disrespectful to them makes them feel assaulted on a personal level. Rather, you should take on the role of an observer. Imagine you're at a cafe where the barista isn't exactly rocking it. Her anger at you is irrational. Why is she being rude to me? I didn't do anything wrong. Soon enough, the ordinary person's mood takes a turn for the worse as they absorb this energy. On the other hand, an observer can watch events unfold without internalizing them. For example, they might think, "Oh, she must be going through something." Detachment is demonstrated here. You allow the world to pass by you, rather than the other way around. Step 2. Get good at pausing. Have you ever thought about how every bad choice is made when you're really angry or frustrated? Why? Because feelings take precedence over reason. They control your thoughts and emotions. Step 1. Wait before responding. The moment someone says something insulting, stop. Concerned about, hold on. You want to dispute, hold on a second. Your brain has a choice in that brief pause between responding instinctively or deliberately. All your power lies in that option. Ask yourself, is this worth my energy? Before responding to anything. The vast majority of the time, the answer is no. Third step is to cut out the drama. Reactions are the fuel that keeps the drama going in any social group, workplace, or romantic relationship. Emotions are the lifeblood of this ecology. People don't engage in gossip unless it spreads. Some people are toxic and will only stay if they cause trouble. When both parties take part, the argument can only get worse. The system breaks down the moment its nourishment is cut off. Envision yourself smiling and continuing on your way when someone attempts to provoke you. They have no control whatsoever, because let me tell you something. Those who seek to provoke you aren't seeking insight or truth. They're seeking control. They will lose control if you do not provide them with anything. For that reason, the most perilous participant in any given exchange is the one who refuses to give in. Something out of the ordinary will become apparent as you begin to do this. More and more, people will start to respect you. Less frequently will they put you to the test, and when they do, you'll make sure they don't mess with you. Because you become impervious to emotional attacks once you learn to control them. The last stage is to reprogram your brain to handle emotions before they ever start, because you may be asking, okay, this makes sense in theory, but how do I actually apply this when emotions feel overwhelming? All right, but what about when the emotions are so intense that detaching feels impossible? Is a reasonable concern, and it's precisely in these kinds of situations that the majority of people find themselves unable to move forward. Changing drastically, all of a sudden, isn't feasible if you've lived your whole life responding to events. The important thing is not to repress feelings, but to retrain your brain to deal with them in a different way. Get your intellect in shape by exercising it regularly. Emotions are viewed by many as wild animals, unpredictable, uncontrollable, and something that must be dealt with. But it is possible to train one's emotions just as one trains their muscles. Do you ever think about how some people can remain cool under fire while others lose it at the slightest provocation? That has nothing to do with innate talent. This is because their neurological system has been conditioned to react differently. Based on its previous experiences, your brain establishes default pathways. If your brain has associated stress with panic attacks for a long time, it will keep doing that. Your defensive reaction will be automatic if your brain has associated criticism with defensiveness. So what's the secret? Suddenly stop the flow. Ask yourself, what if I respond in the opposite way this time? The next time you feel the want to react emotionally, for example, instead of getting angry, try smiling. Keep quiet instead than getting defensive. Calm down and take a look around instead of freaking out. For a while, your mind will resist. No, we need to react. This is how we always do it. It will shout. However, your brain will rewire itself if you persist in resisting that inclination. Also, you could find that things that used to set you off no longer do. There is no longer the previous reaction. When you reach that point, you know you've won. Second, manage the story you're telling yourself. Though few are aware of it, one's internal monologue dictates one's emotional response to each given situation. The next time something seems to be influencing you, stop and think, what is the narrative I'm creating in my head about this? Is this understanding truly helpful? Because trust me, most of the time, it isn't. This is a concept Eckhart Tolle expands on in A New Earth when he writes, "The mind is a superb instrument if used rightly. Used wrongly, however, it becomes very destructive." Thirdly, disarm people emotionally, a life-altering trick. People are totally taken aback when they anticipate a response from you, but you fail to deliver. When someone attacks you, do you ever witness people laughing and agreeing instead of getting angry? You never take anything seriously. I try not to. You really don't care, do you? No, that's called emotional judo. The art of channeling someone else's negative energy and turning it around on them, refusing to be influenced, sends a strong message. You don't have control over me. And nothing annoys people more than seeing that their attempts to provoke you aren't yielding any results. And you know what? People will look up to you more if you can control your reactions. Reason being, folks put you through your paces to gauge their level of power over you. They retreat the second they sense you're impregnable. Being unshakable doesn't mean you can't feel anything. The important thing is to resist their control. Once you stop reacting to things that don't deserve your energy, you start living on your own terms. It's all about making a choice. Do I let this situation define me, or do I define the situation? Life takes a dramatic turn at that point. Let's keep growing together on this path of self-discovery. Subscribe to our channel for daily inspiration and grow as a person. Comment the word "now" and like the video to show your support. Also, consider sharing this video with someone who could use some encouragement to slow down and enjoy life more fully.